Guys, we'll need you to tell me when we're up and running. All right. It looks like we are up and running. Kerry Kandata, how are you, sir?
Joshua, doing just fine. Greetings from Lake Chelan, right up here in the heart of the 12th District. It is good to be with you today.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for all the leadership that you have led our state forward in many years. I mean, you were down in the legislature for many years, and now you're having great impact with Restore Washington. Can you share that with bit with the viewers and a little bit of what you're up to today?
Well, I'm up here just checking things out, but Restore Washington is doing well. We are excited about R90. We think it looks very good at this point. We did get R88 across the finish line last year. Unfortunately, our first initiative that we were excited about was I-1700 was to reduce property taxes. And of course, that dropped right in the middle of this COVID situation and is probably no longer relevant at this point. There will come a time, I think we'll have to revisit that. But right now, obviously, things have changed. But we are looking at some other alternatives. But Restore Washington is doing well. We're trying to connect with people all across the state. It's interesting that it is statewide. We started out in Eastern Washington, but I would say the mix right now is about equal from west to east. And we just felt like there was an opportunity to do something better in the initiative process. Tim Eyman had a lot of unfortunate failures and overturning many of his initiatives, and we just felt there was a better way to do it. And so we started this idea, and so far so good.
Wow, that's awesome. So, I mean, what would you say Restore Washington is for those folks that are jumping online with us right now? It's a movement of the people.
Yeah, I mean, we say it's legislation by the people, for the people. I think our concept was originally to build a better initiative machine, to be able to vet these bills, being a former lawmaker myself and knowing how the Constitution works and how the bills are vetted, to put good, solid constitutional initiatives on the table and then put an organization together that could qualify those in a matter of 90 to 120 days consistently, so that every time there's an issue with Olympia, we could react quickly, get it on the ballot, get it done. So far, we've had success again with 2 referendums. The initiative process has been extremely difficult because of the COVID situation, but we know that'll get back to normal soon. And there will be a high demand. We are facing a lot of challenges moving forward with the budget, potentially higher taxes, potential income tax coming our way. There's just a lot of things to look at, and it's changing daily. But we believe we've created an organization that can do exactly that, can get these initiatives qualified and on the ballot in a short period of time. And we've done it with a group of 10 different zones, which is really unique. We have 10 different groups based on congressional district, and each of them is a team. And these teams are actually somewhat competitive, and they have the same number of people. And frankly, we think that's the best way to organize. When you have smaller teams, you can be far more efficient. And we are looking forward to getting our first real initiative launched here soon.
Can you share with us what that first initiative is going to be, or is that a secret at this point?
No, we've let it out. We think right now, and we tested the water. We've polled our members. We have now about almost 58,000 members, and they were pretty clear that the top 2 concerns they had were the income tax, and we're working on an initiative that could head off an income tax. But one of the highest priorities was stopping this government overreach, this governor's emergency powers, which has been eroded away from the original Constitution for some time. So our first initiative we believe that will come out of the chute with, we're just finishing right now, is a limit on governor's powers. It will be a 14-day limit without legislative approval. That is considerably different than what is happening now, because we do not want to see this situation occur again. We just do not want to see a position where the governor becomes a dictator for the whole state, regardless of who the governor is. I think we would hold you to the same standard, Joshua, that we don't expect you to take over as the king of everything, and I don't think you should be able to. And so the legislature has to be able to weigh in. And this has been vetted by 4 different attorneys now, and we're putting the final touches on it. We hope to have it on the street very soon. We've got till the end of the year to qualify it.
I want to talk about that initiative, but one thing you said in there was critical, and I want a lot of people that are watching us right now. Sometimes we have up to 1,200 people that have watched this within the first 2 minutes. Like, it's some crazy results. So you said that you just had 4 attorneys look at it. The big mistake so many initiative writers write is they'll go to one guy to write up the initiative, and then there's multiple issues in there, and ultimately, even though it passes and a year of efforts put into it, it gets tossed out in court. And so many of these initiatives for the last 15 to 20 years have no impact today because they couldn't stand the day in court. And it sounds like you've recognized that and taking the proper leadership to vet it.
Yeah, absolutely. That is really the key to our success, is to make sure that these initiatives are single subject, that they're constitutional, and they meet all the muster that's necessary. So look, I'm not saying nothing will be challenged. There will always be challenges, but the better you can build the machine, the better chance you have of survival. The $30 tabs bill was a train wreck from day one. It was way too complex, had too many issues, and hence was what we thought was overturned. Now, whether it survives the Supreme Court based on just the merit of it running 3 times, just the merit of people saying over and over and over that they want $30 tabs, there's still a slight chance that could happen. But if not, we've prepared a clean, simple subject $30 tab bill as well. And we think it's about time it was done right. Now, most people don't know this, but Tim Eyman's initiatives, only one really held ground, and that was the I-900, and that was performance audits. As far as the tax initiatives go, he's been turned over 9 out of 9 times, and that's just not a real good track record. So we have to be a lot more careful. They are not going to be as elaborate. They're not going to have gimmicks. They may not be as colorful as what Tim used to run, but they'll get the job done and they'll pass constitutional muster, and that's what we're after. I just hate to see people work so hard and put so much effort into something and then just have it blown out. And I know right now our biggest battle is getting people to believe that it can work again, and that's why we call it Restore Washington. We want to restore the state, but we also want to restore people's faith in the process. The initiative process is a good process. We're lucky to have it here. It's a great safety valve, and when used properly, it's a great way to head off these issues that the minorities try so hard to handle and can't always do.
It's one of the last powers of the people, it feels like to me. When you feel those folks that are elected to represent us, they go off on a tangent on their own personal trails without listening to the voice of the people. And then we're seeing so many of these courts compromised today. Certainly in the state Supreme Court, elected 9-0. So many liberals stint there because we don't elect across the state and regions. And so the courts are compromised with appointments sometimes for the governor. The electeds are compromised. The initiative is somewhat it's one of the 3 powers we can use. And for me, it's encouraging to know that you've had experience in this and you're going to be leading the state forward to make sure that we preserve that power.
Well, Josh, I'll tell you, I did 16 years of defense down in Olympia, and it gets really tiring as being in a minority to continue to fight the good fight. We held off a lot of things down there. The minimum wage we held off for many years. Paid family leave we held off for almost 8 years. You know, we worked very hard because these things are hard on small business. We're not saying they're bad ideas, but when you combine them, they're extremely tough on these small businesses. And we did well, but it's constant defense. There was no way to go on the offense, and I think the initiative process allows us to do both. So we like to think of it as, and we also believe in the referendum process. Obviously, it's been paid off a lot in the last 2 issues.
That's really great. Well, hopefully everybody online right now, you're enjoying what you're hearing right now. We're listening to Carrie Condotta, and actually I'm going to use this feature so I can put your picture on the screen here. But if you like what Carrie's saying, give a thumbs up to us, and also in the comments, you can, actually I'm going to try to post in the comments, just Restore Washington. You're going to want to go to his Facebook page, certainly join it. I just heard Carrie say he's at 58,000. It seemed like just 2 weeks ago you were at 50,000. It's unbelievable the growth that you continue to have this year.
Well, it's funny when you scroll through the thing, you'll see not too far down it'll say congratulations, benchmark 49,000, and then you go up a couple weeks and it's 53,000, and now approaching 58. Well, I think people see that we're making progress. It's slow, but we are doing what we say we are doing. We got our 88 We helped get it on the ballot. There was a great group doing that, spent a lot of money getting on the ballot. But we went out and campaigned across eastern Washington, in an area where nobody really paid much attention to affirmative action. And we got that thing over the line. And now R90, again, we used our network to help those folks. The original organization did a good job, but we just augmented it. And I think we're going to set a record for signatures on that one by Monday or Tuesday. And so I think people appreciate that things are getting done. Our lawsuit, we started this lawsuit, Chelan County. We've had 3 wins in court. Our big day will be coming Wednesday or Thursday, we hope, unless something else changes. The AG has consistently dragged their feet any which way they could. They've tried to transfer venues. They've tried to move it to federal court. The fact is, I think they know they're going to lose this one. There is no emergency in Washington State. Therefore, the governor should not have the power that he has. And we've been quite clear all along that that's all we're trying to do. And so far, we've had good luck. So I think people appreciate the fact that we stick to it. And we only do these things. We don't get off on, we're not covering anything on the riots or the Black Lives Matter. We're not doing any of that. We keep things focused. There's plenty of places to go to find out news. We are just focused on doing what we do, one mission at a time.
I like that a lot. You're doing a great job out there getting the news out. Referendum 890, I mean, that we have to turn that in, I think, on the 10th. So anyone listening, please get your signatures in no later than Monday to the office there in Kirkland. You have a P.O. box there that you can look on the back of the form or go look at the website, Parents for Safe Schools. But we need to get those signatures. And I'm feeling good that we're going to have a successful election in November when parents have the opportunity to vote and reverse comprehensive sex education that really is compromising the young minds of 5, 6, 7-year-old kids. I'm seeing as I go around the state to all 39 counties are on a tour, it's collective and the message is extremely clear that parents are definitely against comprehensive sex education, which I think, Gary, why you say we may set a record with the signatures that are coming in. But please don't let that deter anyone from turning in the signature forms, whether you have 1 or 2 signatures on the form that's sitting on your counter. This is the day we need to get it in the mail today so it is delivered on Monday so we can get it down to Olympia. But let's go back. I appreciate what you're doing with the initiative to go forward with limiting the powers of the governor. And of course, I plan to be the next governor should the citizens of Washington State entrust me with that honor. And something that I would take extremely seriously. But you can see how far the abuses of power can go with the governor declaring a state of emergency and then continue to extend it. And ultimately has caused great damage to the state of Washington. What kind of things have you seen? I mean, you're in the midst of the lawsuit. You touched on that a little bit. It's encouraging you and motivating you to see that you limit the powers of the governor. Can you talk a bit about the lawsuit, why that's so important, because the impacts you've seen from the declaration of emergency?
Well, look, my specialty in the legislature was small business. I come from small business. I've been self-employed for 30 years. And the fact is that, the small business climate has continued to deteriorate here. And then you load this on top of it. We've already had the change in the minimum wage at the beginning of the year put a lot of pressure on people. The paid family leave program added more administration. It's just a very lethal cocktail for the smallest folks. And then you have COVID come along. And, of course, our area, our district here is mostly small business, and they're getting slaughtered. I mean, the restaurants and everybody are getting hurt. The wineries, these folks invest a great deal in their vineyards and in their wines every year. I'm sitting in front of one of the wineries right here at Tipsy Canyon. And the fact is they're struggling now because they have no cash flow to pay back that initial investment. So I'm just very concerned about the small business atmosphere in general. I think that's something I hope you'll concentrate on as governor. I know that for me it's the most important thing. And so what we're seeing out here is the big guys, look, Fred Meyer's having record sales, Walmart, everybody's fine. But when it comes to the salons, and the small businesses, they're getting just slaughtered in the restaurants and the bars. And there's no excuse for it. If you can go in and be with 1,000 people in Fred Meyer all bumping into each other, why can't you get your hair cut? I mean, it's really kind of silly.
Yeah, well, we're having thousands of people in riots over here. Sorry, Carrie. Having thousands of people just gathering together, so close together, downtown Seattle. The Durkin, the mayor there, is meeting at the crowd with no mask on. Yet I'm hearing in Chelan County, you can't even open up slide waters. People are going to be outdoors. The chlorine easily would kill anything that's the purpose of it, right? But the governor's not even allowing Chelan County to go into phase 2, as I understand. Is that right?
Well, we applied again today for the second time, and we're hoping this is going to be the one. It looks like, I think that, frankly, our lawsuit has done very, very well, and I think the movement today of all those counties moving forward was pushed by the lawsuit, knowing that this is coming to an end. And I think that we've accelerated, if nothing else, we've accelerated the pace of these phase openings. But yes, we've been left behind, and for no good reason. Our numbers are better than a lot of the counties that are certainly at phase 2 already. So,
do you think that it's part of a
application-
retribution from you having a lawsuit in Chelan County that they're preventing you from going to phase 2? Because I've heard that Jay Inslee sadly is a guy who likes to pay retribution. Vengeance is mine, saith the Lord. Jay Inslee said, no, it's for me to do.
Well, if you look at that map and see the absolute center of Washington from top to bottom is where nothing's happening, it's pretty evident. I mean, the 4th District is arguably the most conservative district in the state. And I think that's the district that's been left out. So there's obviously political overtones to this, but we felt that the lawsuit was important. We couldn't let this go on. We couldn't let more small businesses fail. And so if we're taking a bit of a sacrifice here to help the rest of the state, okay. But I think it's our turn. I think our numbers are there, and I think we'll get to phase 2 and beyond. But it certainly is something that has to happen. We're just seeing store after restaurant failing, and it's time. There is no emergency here, Joshua. There's nobody in the hospital. That we've had no deaths for weeks. We've had a couple of breakouts in the packing houses, but that's isolated. They've been able to control it. Outside of that, there is absolutely nothing going on in Chelan and Douglas County that anybody should be worried about.
Wow. So, I mean, with all your experience with small business, having served in Olympia for multiple terms, and now the exposure, the impact that you're having here in the state, what do you think is the biggest thing that we can do to help heal the economy today?
Well, first, let's get out of this cycle. Let's get back to work. I mean, the general economy, you saw the numbers today, is pretty strong. And I think Washington is not past the breaking point. I think we're going to do very well. As a matter of fact, my clients, and I do advertising for local TV on my regular job, my clients that are open are doing extremely well. The auto dealers, now that they're open, are seeing very good sales. The motorsports dealers, anybody that is open is seeing great success because the underlying economy is still very strong. So let's get this thing open. Let's move forward. But then let's revisit the entire small business atmosphere and see if there's some things we can do to help these smaller folks get along. The combination of high payroll taxes, high minimum wage, and then the B&O tax on gross dollars, that combination is a lethal cocktail for anybody on the small end. And I just think you're not going to see a lot of small startups in the future if we maintain this position.
Wow. So how's the crisis impacted you personally?
Well, look, I'm very proud of this district, and I love it. I've represented it for years. And to see all my friends in small business who I represented and defended for all these years, to see them all struggling and going down, it's really hard on me. I didn't sleep much last night. On top, with also the threats coming from these riots and things. We've heard there are people nosing around Wenatchee. There could be trouble here. That's all we need on top of everything else. But I'm watching my friends in dire straits, and it's just so difficult to see that. I just want to do everything I can do to get things going again. We don't have a problem here. We don't have a health issue. I think this thing is out. I think it's on the street. I think if you tested half the people in this county, they'd probably test positive. And the fact is, we're going to have to deal with it. We're beyond containing it. And so let's get going. Let's put the economy back in gear and let these small businesses have a shot. Remember, we're kind of tourism oriented here, and we've only got about a 3 or 4 month window up here in Chelan to make it. And if these guys don't put some money in the bank, they won't be here next year.
Yeah, and that is such a great destination for people even around the country that come to Chelan. It is a destination resort as a whole. It's a destination county. It's unbelievable. Hey, so we're getting questions now from a few viewers. So one here I have, why did Chief Culp opt out of the debate? I guess that's for me to answer. There were 2 debates, actually. There was one on Friday, I think it was last week, and the young Republicans from Spokane College Republican Clubs put that on. Chief Culp didn't appreciate how it was organized, and so he decided to back out. His campaign spoke about that. So hopefully you can go to his website and see Gergen's response on why they decided not to come. I personally thought they did a great job, and many other Republican candidates went there. There was another debate that just happened 2 nights ago down in Tri-Cities. He had to back out for some unknown reason, but he did have somebody representing him there, so that was fine. but I had a good conversation with Tim Eyman and Phil Fortunato there, and it was amazing. Carrie, it was in Clint Didier's potato barn. It was a wild experience. A couple hundred, 300 people there coming to hear the issues. It was a really great down home America type experience, talking about what's really important to Washingtonians. And right now, people are really concerned. And certainly when it comes to agricultural issues, a lot of people are concerned because they're getting this red tape directive coming out of Olympia from folks who have maybe never even left King, Pierce, Snohomish, or Thurston County, and yet they're dictating what's happening in Kittitas or Chelan or Douglas or Benton, folks that don't understand agriculture. What was it like for you when you were down in Olympia and you're hearing from folks from representing downtown Seattle saying what needs to happen in an orchard or in a vineyard in Eastern Washington? How would you help deal with that frustration?
There was very little understanding. There's no question about it. As a matter of fact, we brought one of the downtown Seattle Democrats over here, and I think he was shocked to see that we actually measured water. We actually did not just spray fertilizer at will over everything. He was amazed at how scientific and how precise the business was. I just think people that grow up in cities and live in urban developments have no idea at times where their food comes from and how incredibly difficult it is to get it to market. So we've got to get some understanding. And I can tell you the biggest issue over here, Joshua, in general, is that people here do not feel represented by Jay Inslee or his majority party. We're a different world over here, maybe more conservative, more agricultural, but either way, they just don't feel like they're represented. And they're terrified of what's happened in Seattle. They look at the deterioration of Seattle, which used to be one of the most beautiful cities on earth, turning into a trash pile, a drug-infested, homeless mess. And they're afraid those policies are coming our way. They're afraid they're going to get shipped over here. So there's just a lot of fear over here about what's going on. The progressive movement has destroyed San Francisco, destroyed Portland, and certainly damaged Seattle. And I think that people over here are just terrified that it's coming their way.
Boy, I've heard that so many times as I'm traveling in central and eastern Washington, even northwest Washington and southwest Washington feel the same way. They wish that King County, because of Seattle, could be pushed into a state of its own, and then the rest of us are Washington. But I keep on encouraging folks, saying, no, there's a lot of folks that are fiscal conservatives that want to make sure that they're retaining more of their hard-earned dollars rather than go government. They're not looking there, or they look at Shauna Sawant in downtown Seattle and say, we don't want that. We don't represent that. We don't want that to come into the rest of the state. But so often what you see is Seattle ideas pushing the King County and then start pushing the rest of the state. But I feel, and you're certainly on the front lines of this, I'm feeling this year is going to be a different year. People are coming out. Even in November, I saw that 9 out of the 12 advisory votes were rejected. Those were the 12 issues about the new taxes that were passed in the last session. And so I feel that the turning of Washington is happening today. And certainly with what you're doing with Restore Washington, we're seeing that this movement is continuing to grow, even exponentially today.
Well, let's bring up something that's very important. I think two things. I think they're very important. When we started out, we felt somewhat, this kind of branched off of the original Liberty State idea, but we found out very quickly that that wasn't what people wanted across the state. People in Western Washington felt exactly the same as we did, and our membership is statewide. It is not biased. It is statewide, and we are getting the same response from people on the west side as from the east side. So I think you're right. It's changing. It's really the noose around Seattle is closing. It's getting smaller rather than larger. And Western Washington people, they don't want to split off. They want to take their state back, and they want to have it the way it should be. So let's get rid of this east-west divide and realize that that's not the case. And the other thing we've got to realize, and I think we have proven it, that we can beat King County, that if enough conservatives come out and vote, if they vote for things like R88 or R90 or for $30 tabs, we've proven beyond a shadow of a doubt that we can beat King County. So it's a matter of getting people convinced again, once again restoring their faith that the more conservative folks can get back in the saddle and can have an equal voice in the state of Washington. And it's not just about Eastern versus Western at all.
You are spot on with everything that you just said there. It's really the issues that we had victory on. Like you say, we rejected 88, which was discrimination, really racism, pushed forward by the Democrat Party, or really the socialist wing of the party. It's a debate on issues, not geography necessarily, right? I mean, we talk about King County, we talk about Eastern Central Washington, but it's the issues that people are pushing against. They don't want those socialist type issues. And thankfully, folks are rising up against it today. So I got a question here for Mary Jo. Let me read it. Could you list on your page the people you are endorsing for other positions? I'm assuming that's for me to talk about who I might be endorsing for other positions. I'll consider doing something like that. I'm not announcing any of those endorsements. I'm really just focused on my campaign right now. So, Carrie, I'm assuming this question was for me.
I think so, because we don't do politics. That's disappointed a few people. We don't allow political posts. The bottom line for us is we're mission oriented. We're not, but we're not saying that at some point, obviously, we're not going to make some suggestions for who we suggest would be better moving forward. But we want to get through the primaries and let everybody have an equal shot.
Yeah, you know, sometimes I take a post from my own page and I'll post it on another page, like Reopen Washington. I've tried that on Restore, and you are a gatekeeper, my friend.
Well,
I got a call from a good friend of ours, Mike, and said, just so you know, these are the rules of our page. So you guys are very much straight on the issues, and well done, well done. But yeah, Mary Jo, thanks so much for that question. Let me get back to you a better answer, and I can communicate with you directly on that. But thank you so much. And for everyone online right now, thank you so much for joining, listening. We're with Carrie Condata with Restore Washington, former state rep for multiple terms, who did an amazing job in Olympia representing small businesses, fighting for conservative fiscal policies, and making sure that we're well represented, not just for your district. I think it was District 12, I'm going by memory, right?
That's correct.
Okay, but you really represented folks across the state. For us in King County, he didn't have that represented. You represented our issues, so thank you. So what's the best way, Carrie, do you think that we can beat Jay Inslee this year? And I know you can't just say vote for Joshua Freed right now, but what is the best way we can vote for Jay Inslee?
Well, I think Jay Inslee's kind of doing it to himself. It's obvious that his popularity, I think, is probably at an all-time low. If you look at statewide, he still has his core followers, but I believe he's really dropped considerably. And I think the longer he pushes this situation out, and the longer he tries to keep this emergency going, I think the more opportunity we have. People have got to understand that the same party has ruled this state for years. And if you have complaints about the way things are, and I think most of us do, you might want to try something different. And I think it would be very refreshing to give the other side a chance. I think that's our point. And look, it's a 4-year term. If we screw it up, well, then you can go right back to where you were. But the fact is, Washington needs a change. We have everything here, Joshua. We have agriculture. We have power. We are one of the cleanest power-producing states. We are so far ahead of everybody in terms of the ports and the shipping. Look, Washington State should be the strongest economy in the United States. It should not even have any competitors based on our variables, and yet we're not, because we just have some very big roadblocks thanks to our state government, and they're getting worse instead of better. And so I just encourage people to think twice about going down the same road again and again. And the thing is, too, is that caucus has changed dramatically. When I came in, there were Democrats there that would be Republicans today. And it has moved distinctly to the progressive side, very far to the left, where our caucus, I think, has remained pretty steady. It may have gone a little bit more to the right, but fact is they haven't changed much. They've been very consistent in their proposals. And the Democrats have moved further and further and further left. And frankly, I think they're over the line. And people need to realize that and start to think about some alternatives. Yeah,
you can sense that the pendulum is swung so far to the left that even dear friends of mine, I'm sure you have the same experience, dear friends of mine have been Democrat their entire life, say we don't even recognize our own party anymore. We voted for Hillary 3 years ago, but we're not socialists is what we're seeing here in Washington State today. Like Bernie Sanders had so much exposure and was moving forward. And even his own party said, whoa, we don't want that across the nation. Yet some of that is still remaining here in Washington State, but people I think are pushing against this. So I feel about this November that this is a very unique opportunity, one that we've been waiting for 35 years, where the Democrat Party, the far left, is feeling they're totally detached from truly what the citizens are saying that they want. Right now, people are wanting to keep more of the hard-earned money that they have worked for rather than grow state government like it has 60% under Jay Inslee. They're thinking that some of these social policies need to be reversed and we are able to keep more local control. Certainly you can see giving this current governor the powers that he has through the emergency powers, he far overstepped and he's causing great damage to the state of Washington. So I think when you're moving forward with your initiative to limit the powers of the governor, I think that would be an amazing thing to show people that we are a party that wants to make sure the power is left in the hands of the citizens, because it's a government of the people, by the people, and for the people, right?
Well, local government's the most efficient government. They're the most accountable government, and they really should have the say, especially in events like this. Now, they also have the tightest budgets. The state has not treated counties very well. Cities have done okay, but the counties have not been treated well. And this balance needs to change. And to keep threatening the counties every time they try to do what they need to do, to threaten them with money or cutting off their funds, this is not the way that a state government should relate to local governments. And I think that all needs to change as well. So we've got a lot of work to do. You've got a lot of work to do. And we see it getting better. I think this is a pivotal moment. And I think the people of Washington State should give it a shot. Try something fresh and new, and I think you're going to be shocked how much better it'll be. We have more opportunity than any state in the union to be really, really successful. We've got all the ingredients, and we just need somebody at the helm that can drive it not so ideologically, but from a economic perspective. And you know, it doesn't mean we have to be far right-wingers at all. That's not the case. As a matter of fact, in most social issues, I think people are pretty much in the middle. And but when it comes to the economic issues, this state is completely out of whack, and the small business guys are getting destroyed.
It is sad. It's so sad to hear the stories of what's happening today. I was talking or reading this last week, and actually called the owner of the windmill in Wenatchee, Kevin Smith. Sorry, he owns the windmill, and he tried to open up, and he was shut down within an hour by the Liquor Control Board. And he's in a very desperate situation, and his story is just heartbreaking. And sadly, too much exposure was brought to that event that evening. But he's not alone in the sense these small business owners are just desperate to open up again, yet big government is trying to come in and shut them down. How do we fight that?
Well, look, the two legacy restaurants in Wenatchee are the Windmill and the Cottage Inn. The Cottage Inn's gone. 81 years, shut down, finished, over with. Not just COVID, but the minimum wage had a lot to do with that one as well. And Kevin's on the ropes as well, so we could be losing two of our iconic restaurants. But look, again, the small business atmosphere needs some changes. All the things they're up against and all the things they're trying to balance makes it very difficult to be competitive. And we've got to get this economy back open as soon as possible. I got to tell you, we're working on a new project at Restore Washington. I won't say a lot about it. It's about 2 weeks out, but we're going to have a new division. And we just think that small business has not been represented at all in Olympia. So we're going to look at changing that in the next few weeks. I just was so disturbed when I saw three of the large organizations with Jay Inslee at one of his press conferences, all saying, "Oh my God, thank you, Jay, for your leadership," when you're killing all of our constituents. I mean, this is the Restaurant Association, the Retail Association, the automobile dealers. I felt terrible seeing them up there, kind of almost begging to have throw them a bone. And that's not the way it should be. And I think small business needs better representation. We're going to be working on that for you.
Yeah, I feel that they have to pander to Jay Inslee just to stay in his good graces, because if you so much to say something that makes him slightly offended, he has retribution. I mean, I've heard stories, and you probably saw these type of games, but there's light item vetoes where bridge projects or special projects can be struck out by the governor. And so you sometimes walk very carefully to not offend him.
I'll give you a group as an example. The salon owners, I got to give them credit. They've come in 2 years in a row on these tax issues and absolutely screamed at the top of their lungs that they can't take anymore. And, I think they're getting hit pretty hard in this COVID thing because of it. I see a direct connection between why they've been battered so hard, because they've stood up for themselves. And it seems like the businesses that stand up the most get hit the hardest. And the big corporate guys who do all the donating and, take care of all that, well, they're all fine. So this has got to change, Joshua. This has got to change, and I hope you can change that.
Yeah, if you're powerful and well-connected, or if you have a lobbyist that gets you that seat at the table, you're welcome in Jay Inslee's mansion. But if not, you're left outside the gate hoping that you can go back to work. It's a very bad situation that Jay Inslee has so many citizens in Washington State today. I'm looking at the time. You had said 15, 20 minutes. We're at 31. So I know you have other very important things to jump to. But I'm so thankful for the time on Zoom here. I'm going to probably spend a couple more minutes with answering a couple more individual questions from folks. Or anything else you want to say, comment on? Or?
Well, look, I got to tell you, I ran campaigns for years for the Republicans, and I feel for all you guys out there what a terrible situation to be in, to not be able to do rallies, not be able to do the things you normally do. I think you're all trying very hard with social media and doing the best you can, but I think this may be the biggest catastrophe of this entire situation. As bad as the economy's been, as hard as small businesses are getting, hit, the real story here is that this campaign and this election season is not normal. It's not good. I think it borders on a constitutional issue that unless you guys are let loose soon, we're only, about 5 weeks away from the ballot drop here on the primary, and you really haven't been able to campaign, and I think that's a tragedy. But you're all doing the best you can. I wish you all the best. I think we got some great candidates out there, and I know one of you is going to prevail, and hopefully one of you is going to take Mr. Inslee into retirement.
I look forward to it. Thank you so much, Kerry, for everything you're doing for Washington. Couldn't do it without you.
We'll keep it up, and we'll look forward to seeing some new faces around Olympia in January, and I might even be over there a little bit myself.
I love it. That sounds good to me.
See you soon.
Enjoy your day, my friend.
Thank you.
Good. All right. So everyone that's still on, let me jump in and answer a couple more questions here. All right. Let me see. All right. I think we're back here just with me, but thank you so much for everybody jumping on. Kerry Kandata is such a great guy. You can tell that as you listen to him. He definitely has a passion to see positive change for Washington State. He is a leader, and I certainly have a lot of respect for leaders who volunteer a lot of their time. He's really doing it for the best of each one of us and for our state as a whole. And when he was state representative, he was extremely well respected in Olympia. Because obviously, as you can hear, he's a calm man, a humble man, but yet a man of influence with the personality that you can see that shines through quite clearly. But thanks so much for everybody that is online with us here listening. Please just make a comment there. We'd love to hear from you. You can ask questions. I want to mention a couple things that are coming up. And let me just look down at my notes to make sure I am keeping track of everything. So next weekend, we're going to be in Tri-Cities on the 12th and 13th. We have a couple events that are coming up there. Please go to freedforgovernor.com/events. They're going to be pretty fun. And once you RSVP, we're going to make sure that we let you know the location of those events. And then we have the following weekend, we're going to be in Spokane. We're going to be doing a golf tournament on the 20th. I believe it's at 1 o'clock at the Downriver Golf Course. And we're obviously looking for golfers for that event. It should be fun. And then we're going to have some skeet shooting coming up. We have, a few house events that are coming up. Almost every night is full in my calendar that I'm looking at right now. My team is doing a fantastic job keeping us busy. We have a lot of work to do. And there's a special announcement coming up here next week for an event that we're going to be doing around the 3rd or 4th of July. You're going to want to pay attention to that and jump on board quickly, because I guarantee you that will sell out maybe within an hour or two. So it should be a lot of fun. All right. So let me get back to the questions that were being asked so I make sure that I'm getting back to everything. Joan, your ads on 770 are great. What else do you have coming in the campaign to get your name out? Well, absolutely, we need to continue those radio ads, and they are extremely well received. They're playing on 770. We're going to be going on KBI. We're going across the state in multiple different platforms on the radio. If you want to go to freedforgovernor.com/donate, we'd love to have your help. So please go to the website, then click on the donate button, and you then have the opportunity to give. We're looking at people that are willing to give $5, $25 a month, make it a recurring donation, or you can give $4,000 max contribution per individual. If you're able to do that, this would be a great opportunity. So Joan, next question. Where will you be speaking next? Well, there are, like I said, let's see where we have a couple events in Tri-Cities on the 12th and the 13th. We're going to be speaking, I believe, in Bellingham on the 18th. We have Evergreen Republican Women's Club on the 19th. There's a rally next week as well. Ponderosa Republican Women on the 11th. So I kind of went backwards a little bit. So many events, but if you go to freedforgovernor.com/events, you're going to be seeing several of those. Also, since you're watching this Facebook Live, you can go on my Joshua Freed for Governor Facebook page, and you can click on events, and you'll see several that are listed there. there's so many things happening, so many moving parts, so many plans that are going on. Each day, it seems that we're adding 1 or 2 more events. And so you'll see more of those come up for the month of June. A month of July is just going to be off the hook. Let's see, I think ballots drop somewhere around the 10th or 11th or so of July. So we really have 5 weeks until voting literally starts to begin. So this is the time I need everyone, if you've been waiting, trying to make a decision who you're going to jump on board with the campaign. You're on here watching me right now, trying to say, is this the guy that we want to jump behind? I want your help. My team wants your help, making sure that we can have victory against Jay Inslee in November. The time has passed. He's running for his 3rd term, and he certainly has not deserved it. I believe in fiscal responsibility. I am pro-life. I am pro-Second Amendment. I am clearly connected here in King Pierce and Snohomish County with my work to ban heroin injection sites. We had a massive movement here to make sure that we stood against those and got 20 different jurisdictions to not allow those to come in here. And thankfully, they did ban them. But we're still having to always be diligent and vigilant, making sure we stand against those. Kathy, hello, Kathy. How is referendum 90 count going? It is going well. We are still wanting to collect all those signatures. We need everyone to get them mailed in today or tomorrow, so they arrive in the office on Monday. We can't have them later than that because we have to get them all fully packaged and assembled on Tuesday and then turned into the state in the morning on the 10th. So please mail them in no later than, well, they need to be in our office on Monday. And so you need to mail them today or tomorrow at the latest and make sure that it's expedited. And you can go to Parents for Safe Schools and you can look and find the address there. Actually, I'll just do it right now while we're on because I don't have it memorized. Parents for Safe Schools. This is the final push to get all the petitions in. We need 129,811 signatures. So where you mail in those petitions, I get a lot of questions on referendum 90, and I'll just talk about those in a minute. But first, mail it to Parents for Safe Schools, 218 Main Street, number 494, Kirkland, Washington, 98033. Again, that is Parents for Safe Schools, 218 Main Street, number 494, Kirkland, Washington, 98033. And some folks are saying on the top, do I check the box? No, the box at the top of the signature page is the sample of what it will look on in the ballot once we are able to vote here in November on referendum 90. And then make sure if you are the signature gatherer, go to the back side of that page. You're going to see a place where you fill out your name saying, I'm the one who is responsible to get those signatures. If anybody have questions, just go to Parents for Safe Schools .com, and you can see some of the answers and questions there. I'm happy to say that I'm a co-sponsor for Referendum 90, and my wife, Lindy, and I are lead contributors to that because we believe that by violating the minds of young children, that's just an evil thing to do. It's terribly wrong, which is why Referendum 90 is so important, so we can reject comprehensive sex education that was passed at 2:08 in the morning by the House after disclaimers from TVW. So let me go back down to my questions. Hopefully that made sense. I think I think everybody will be pleased, but we still need to get all those signatures. If you have one signature or two signatures sitting on the form on your kitchen counter, don't let those go to waste. Let's show a massive sign of support, get all those signatures in, and so we can send a very clear message to Olympia that we as the citizens in Washington stand against the compromising of the most innocent minds in Washington state. It's terribly wrong with what's going on there. All right, so Denise, in Bellingham, where? That is a great question. Let me look at my calendar. Where am I in Bellingham? We'll post that on our Facebook page for sure to get you an address. And I'm trying to get to it is the Bellingham Common Threads. We actually have 3 events in Bellingham. So depending on the time, I think that's what we want you to see. Do I want to comment on that? Let's see. Bellingham meet and greet with Taylor and with Tammy Long and Kayla Goff. And I don't know if we're supposed to give this address out on the Facebook or not, but if you want to email Azra@freedforgovernor.com and RSVP for the event, we'll get those addresses out. As you can understand right now, some people want to cause damage to events that we're trying to do. And so we're trying to be very cautious, especially when we did our 39 county tour. We went over 14 days to every county in Washington state. We were certainly the only candidate to do so because we felt it was extremely important that we are understanding and hearing the voices across the state. Sadly, Jay Inslee listens to about 1 to 2 counties of 50 miles north and south on the I-5 corridor. All right, so we have an event in Bellingham, the Port of Bellingham at 1801 Roeder Avenue, which is Roeder Avenue, Bellingham. And that's where the Common Threads Northwest event is being held. And I believe it's in the evening at 7 o'clock, the Port of Bellingham. So would be loving to have you there. That's actually going to be a gubernatorial forum. I certainly will be there. I imagine a couple of the other candidates will be there as well. All right, so another question here. Brett Wilcox, I really like all the We Are Essential t-shirts. How can I get one? Well, how about I put my friend on the spot? You can email Blake, BLAKE at freedforgovernor.com. That's Blake at freedforgovernor.com. You email him and he'll send you a link and get you one of those t-shirts. He is just that type of guy. Got an amazing team because we are dedicated to victory. I'm telling these folks are giving 100 hours a week just to make sure that we have victorious. So what I'm asking at, when I ask for a donation, it's not like it's coming to me and it's enriching our process here and it's just going into a bucket just to go on the radio. So you're supporting people who are giving their blood, sweat, and tears to make sure that you have a governor that is representing you with the issues that are important to you. They're fully dedicated to this campaign, tireless workers to make sure that we have victory in November. So when you're giving, picture the most sweetest, hardworking people that you ever can imagine and know that everything that you're giving is given to make sure that they are supported in their efforts as they're supporting Freed for Governor. All right, next question. Norma, will phased openings end with a favorable ruling from the Chelan court proceedings? I wish that Carrie was on the phone still, but I think that is a great sign. Just like my victory in court just 3 Fridays ago, we showed Jay Inslee does not have the constitutional authority to make these arbitrary, unscientific, and unproven directives against us in Washington state. So many churches in Washington are opening today. That was a clear victory. Attorney General Barr said, Josh, throw your hands in the air in absolute joy and victory because you showed and made Jay Inslee and the Attorney General admit that they don't have constitutional authority for these directives. So many churches are meeting. I certainly have been meeting with my Bible study on Wednesday night at our house. We're having 25, 30 people come to those, and church certainly as well on Sunday morning. But many of my friends are already back to church. We obviously see that Jenny Durkin and Dow Constantine and many of those folks in the Democrat Party don't have any issues with being in crowds of 1,000 to 2,000 within 6 inches of one each other. So we're seeing that they're not believing in the science based upon their actions. If they believed in that science, they'd stay inside, but they're not. They know that they've been controlling us citizens at home. The good news is that the death rate is not as high as we thought. Now, don't take that as an insensitive comment because I value human life. I've fought my life, or with Lindy and I have fought protecting human life for 23 years of our marriage, because we know that human life at all stages is extremely important. So we mourn the loss when anyone dies. And so clearly, those people that we've lost from COVID is heartbreaking, but thankfully it's not the 2.3% death rate that we thought, it's like 0.1%. So it's time for us to continue to open up Washington state and preserve those liberties that we've fought and people have died for in our state and across this nation. So Ted, lawn signs. I take it you want some lawn signs. Please go to the website. There is a form to fill out there where we can get you lawn signs. Depending on your location, if you want to email Jennifer at freedforgovernor.com, we have pickup locations across the state, whether you're in Tri-Cities, Ellensburg, certainly up in Bellingham, here in King County, down in Pierce County, across the state. We have signs down in Vancouver and Lewis County right now. We've thousands of signs across the state. Hopefully you're starting to see them go up. We got 4x8s, we got yard signs, but please go sign up online if you want any of those. We'll be in contact with you. All right, Joanne, can you post a link on our Facebook page for swag, please? Yes, Blake is working on getting swag on the Facebook page, so it's super easy for you to find. You also can go to freedforgovernor.com and you can find swag there. We actually have a few shirts left. We ordered hundreds for the Freedom Tour, the 39 county tour. We have a few of those left. That's my favorite design of all of them that we've done so far. So You can even order that if you want to email Blake at freedforgovernor.com. Karen, can you talk about the multiple offices in the state you talked about? Yeah, so one of the big complaints or concerns that I hear, I should call it a concern for folks across Washington state, and it's really folks out of King, Pierce, or Snohomish County that they're not feeling represented. So when you're in Clark or when you're up, in Wahkiakum County or Skagit County or Skamania or Douglas or Benton, people are feeling that they're not represented by the current governor, that he hasn't visited their counties and he's not present there. They haven't seen the whites of his eyes. He's spending more time campaigning for president in Iowa than he is going to Yakima. And so what I want to do as governor is going to open up what's called regional offices of the governor. This is not growing state government. We already have 5 employees in state government in Olympia. The problem is they're in Olympia. I want to have regional representatives be in the regions. And there's currently government facilities in these different regions. So in Central Washington, Eastern Washington, Northwest Washington, Southwest Washington, that we're going to have regional representative offices, and I'll actually have office hours there. So as governor, I'll be going to each one of those regions. I will be having office hours there. Certainly have my regular regional representative in each one of those offices. Another great benefit of these regional offices, you can do remote testimony. So I've talked about comprehensive sex education, which obviously I'm very clearly against, but they offered in Olympia one morning at 8 in the morning for people to testify. It will take you from Omak, Washington, 6 hours to go testify at 8 in the morning. So you got to leave at 2 in the morning. But with regional offices of the governor, I will have an ability for people to come into the office, sit before a camera, and give remote testimony down to the legislature. That's extremely important to make sure that we're not just getting a very narrowed perspective from folks that are within a half hour of Olympia, but actually folks across the state in all 39 counties. It's extremely important to me as governor to make sure that I hear the voices across the state, which is why I've reached out to commissioners and county councilmen and women throughout our state, because hearing those voices is important for proper leadership. All right, so Kevin, why do I have to take names and temperatures at my construction site and Walmart won't allow you, and Walmart don't, one second. Why do I have to take names and temperatures at construction? I'm guessing that sorry, I'm struggling with this. Why do I have to take names and temperatures of the construction site and Walmart doesn't? I think I'll just shorten it to that. Thank you, Kevin, so much. I think I'm just having a problem without my reading glasses today. Forgive me. So Walmart is allowing all these shoppers to come in. You're right. Construction sites are giving special extra things that we all have to follow. And if you receive public funding, you don't have to follow all those safety requirements. Yet if you did not receive public funding, you have to follow a long list of requirements. The onerous requirements are unscientific and unproven. They are directives from Jay Inslee, who is detached from all reality. This is the guy that when $1 billion, let me talk about this. When $1 billion was stolen by a Nigerian fraud ring, which many people are now thinking is the Russian mafia, $1 billion of unemployment funds are stolen. He left a gaping wound. You know what he said when he was asked that question 2 press conferences ago? What are your comments on that? He says, we need to use the strongest language against those criminals. How dare they be so insensitive to take money when people are unemployed? I'm like, are you so crazy? It's just the most ridiculous statement that these people are criminals. They don't care if people are unemployed. They just want to steal money. And guess what, Jay Inslee? You haven't even let go the person who is overseeing that department. And yet you let $1 billion slip through a gaping hole, giving $1 billion of our tax dollars. You should resign for that alone. I mean, that's very clear. But, you know, we're going to do you the benefit as citizens here in Washington State. We'll just vote you out in November. And we're going to have a new governor that makes sure that we have proper guards in place, that we don't see $1 billion. It's unbelievable. I mean, this should be news around the world that an inept, incompetent governor let $1 billion slip out during a time of COVID crisis. We have the highest unemployment rate in the nation, where families can't even buy milk and groceries. This is a true story, that they can't even buy milk or groceries and waiting for unemployment checks for 6 to 8 weeks. And you're enriching criminals and then saying we should use the strongest language possible to condemn it. Ridiculous. Now you know why crime has exponentially increased under his leadership. Think about it. We've seen rape increase by 65%. We've seen murder increase by 41%. He lets 950 prisoners out of jail and is one vote away in the state Supreme Court, 4-5 vote of letting murderers out. Jay Inslee is the worst governor in America. And you voters, I'm hoping that you jump on board with the Freed campaign, because a vote for freedom comes with a vote for freed. So please, we need your support today. Now is the time to coalesce behind a candidate. I'm asking for your support today. For those folks online that are watching from the Democrat Party, because I do know that the Democrat Governors Association knows that I'm the biggest threat to them, to their Jay Inslee. They've done posts on their own tweets and they post on their emails about the Freed for Governor campaign. We are pushing forward strong. But if you're here, realize that your governor, who you're representing as you're spying on me, or maybe hopefully you're listening for truth so you can jump on board, you need to understand that you are responsible. Just being by somebody and keeping your mouth silent means that you are responsible for inappropriate behavior by your governor. This is time for you to rise up, join our campaign, or at least if you're in the earshot of Jay Inslee, you need to tell him. And I'm telling you, there's some wicked things that are happening in the party today on my side of the aisle too, on the Republican side. And leaders are responsible to take ownership. I've been smeared by one of my competitors 4 or 5 times in the last 2 weeks. All 4 of those 5 of those slimes or smears were completely false, yet I've not received an apology. It's unfortunate. But what's sickening to me is thinking about 3 women who have enriched or helped this other campaign, how they've been lashed out by this gentleman's supporters. It's time for leaders within our party to be true men and protect women and not look for ways that they can malign women in public. That needs to stop. I'm a father of 2 wonderful girls, married to the dream woman of my life, Lindy, for 23 years. And I have a wonderful mother, wonderful mother-in-law and sisters-in-laws. It's incredible for me to think that even for one split second, a candidate for governor would let any of his supporters or he himself malign a woman in public. It's unfathomable to me. But if that's who you're looking for out there, then I'm not your candidate. But if you're looking for a candidate that wants to protect women and making sure that they're respected, I'd appreciate you jumping on board. So just going to look at the last couple of questions here. Oh boy, let's see, where am I? Yeah, there's another comment that was made this week. And I just want to talk about quickly with what's happened with George Floyd. Heartbreaking if you watch that video. And I know some people said, listen, this guy spent time in prison and he was high on methamphetamines, he was high on drugs. Listen, those are horrible things. And we have responsibilities for our behavior. There is no doubt about it. But the fact is, a police officer put his knee on the neck of this gentleman and suffocated him to death. To watch the video is horrific. To him being in that position is unfathomable, and I couldn't even imagine what that would be like. I know it moves all of us to tears and emotions that want to cause us rage. But what we need right now is to pull together to realize the greatest bond is that of acceptance and love. And so we as a society in Washington State need to look for ways that we can love each other, look for ways that we can understand each other. I went to downtown Kirkland this last week and spoke to 2 different groups there. One was a group of African-American women that were standing on the corner, and they were peacefully protesting, I would say demonstrating against what happened. And the sweetest, most amazing conversation with them. And they just said, what we need is for more understanding, that we want to be accepted. We need more understanding on both sides. That's how we heal this land. And then I went up the road just a half block, and there were 3 gentlemen there standing there with ARs. And I said, what are you here for? You know what they said? I could show you the video. Maybe we'll post it. They actually said, we are here to make sure that those gals down the street have the right and are protected to voice their First Amendment rights. I think I said that right. They wanted to make sure those women had protection to express their First Amendment rights and their concern for what had happened. They're also there to protect a store that was being broken into. But that was the passion of these men that were there. They believe, because they've given their lives to go fight overseas for our constitutional rights and our freedoms here in America. We're seeing patriots go out and make sure that people are protected. We're seeing demonstrators going out and expressing their concern about the abuse that have happened and the racism that has happened and the abuses of innocent folks out there. And so we as a nation need to pull together. We need to make sure that we have a leader that can coalesce and make sure that everyone's voices is heard and respected. Obviously, both sides, the 2 groups that I talked to, both felt that the rioting that is happening is not any way connected to a proper respect of a life that was lost and really ultimately taken. that rioting is really just a selfish act, but demonstrating is what we need to be doing right now to say we are mourning the loss of somebody's life that was taken. Hopefully I was clear on that. I know there's a lot of the sensitivities on how to communicate that clearly and directly. But when one of my opponents came out most recently, sadly, there were some comments made, and I just think there needs to be more sensitivity on this subject, because it is important that we're honoring people's different perspectives that are feeling mistreated here in America. That's unacceptable. Racism has no room. I mean, I lived all around the world. I lived in Egypt, lived in Pakistan. There's horrific things where if you live the gay lifestyle in some Middle Eastern countries, they'll throw you off a roof. I mean, that's just pure evil. That's not right. We need to respect human life. I'm a man who supports human life, and I'll continue to fight for that and fight for your rights. I will protect all the laws of Washington State as I'm elected governor, not selectively choose the ones that I feel more comfortable with. So we are at 4:57. Thank you so much for staying with us online all this time. It's great. Thank you so much for your questions. We do need your support. The campaign is quickly coming to the August 4th primary, but the reality is the ballots drop on around the 11th or 12th or so of July. So we need your help today. If you've been waiting to give to a campaign, I need your financial contributions today. freedforgovernor.com, click on donate. But God bless you all. Thank you so much for getting on, and I look forward to seeing you very soon.